Hello students, here I am to discuss the second part of the chapter, Climate. I told you I'll be discussing the seasons of India. Before we move on, let's try to recall what all we did in lecture number 1. We discussed the factors influencing the climate of India: location, latitude, altitude, role of Himalayas, air pressure and surface winds. If we include Coriolis force, ITCZ, jet streams, we'll move on to the weather conditions of India. So, we'll be discussing the comparison of the winter season and the summer season of India. That too, emphasizing the movement of winds, surface winds and upper air circulation. So, when we discuss anything about upper air circulation, do not forget the movement of ITCZ, Intertropical Convergence Zone. Now, when we know that we are in the zone of trade winds, the trade winds would be responsible for bringing the winter season and the changing of monsoon season. The pressure and wind conditions of India are unique. During winters, there is a high pressure area north of Himalayas. It's not that India means only India. The surrounding area of India also has influence on it. Let's name the Mediterranean Sea, Caspian Sea, Persian Gulf and the surrounding seas. Each and every part is totally joined with each other to have an emphasis, to have an influence on the climate of our country. During winters, when I say there's a high pressure area to the north of Himalayas, the cold winds from this region blow towards the low pressure, that means towards India. Now, when these winds are coming from a dry land, from the land, they are dry, they do not bring any moisture with them. Hence, a dry climate in India, a cold and a dry climate. And the same winds during summers, a low pressure develops in the interior Asia and the northwestern India. This causes the complete reversal of winds, which will bring moisture. So, the pressure conditions, they change. Accordingly, the direction of the wind also changes. Let's talk about the mechanism of weather during winter season. First of all, we'll discuss about the surface winds and the air pressure. In winter months, the weather conditions of India are generally influenced by the distribution of pressure over the central and western Asia. A high pressure center region lying to the north of Himalayas is developed there. So, this high pressure, because the winds have to flow from high pressure to low pressure, it gives rise to the flow at the lower level from the north towards the Indian subcontinent, that is towards the south of the Himalayan range. So, what is the role of surface winds now? These surface winds blowing out from the high pressure center over the Central Asia reaches India in the form of dry continental air mass. These continental winds come in contact with the trade winds which are already prevailing in India over the northwestern India. So, when the winds coming from the north, they converge with the trade winds, this region is not very stable because of the movement of the air. Occasionally, it may shift its position as far as to the middle Ganga valley. With the result, the whole of the northern and the northwestern part of India comes under the influence of dry northwestern winds. But children, we have jet streams also. This is happening in the lower atmosphere, but in the upper atmosphere, that means lower layers of the troposphere near the surface of the earth, 3 kilometers above the surface of the earth, a different pattern of air circulation is observed, that too by the jet streams. All of the western and the central Asia remains under the influence of westerly jet streams. These winds blow across the Asian continent at the latitude almost parallel to the Himalayas, that means the Tibetan highlands. Now, these Tibetan highlands have a high altitude, have a high height. So, they act as a barrier in the path of these jet streams, these westerly jet streams. So, these jet streams get bifurcated into two branches. The first branch blows to the north of the Tibetan highlands, while the southern branch, it blows in an eastward direction south of the Himalayas. So its main position is around 25 degrees north in February. And it is believed that this southern branch, which is coming from the Tibetan Plateau, has an important influence on the weather of our country. That means the winter weather. When we talk about the cold weather season, the winter season, the temperature is low and it sets in, the winter season sets in by mid-November in the northern India. December and January are the coldest months over the northern plains. The mean daily temperature remains below, let's say, 21 degrees Celsius over the northern part of India. The night temperature might be low, very low, sometimes going below freezing point in Punjab and Haryana. These are the three main reasons I am discussing with you for the excessive cold in the northern India. Remember, peninsular India does not experience very cold season, very harsh winter season, but the northern and the northwestern parts experiences very cold season. What can be the reason? Now, states like Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, they are far away from the moderating influence of the oceans, whereas the southern part, the peninsular India, has the influence of oceans. And moreover, the snowfall in the Himalayan region also creates cold wave situation in the northern India. Around February, the cold winds coming from the Caspian Sea, they also bring cold wave along with frost and fog. You must have heard of fog, which diminishes the visibility over the northwestern part of India. So, equable climate in peninsular India, extreme cold wave in northern India. This is happening just because of the factors I have discussed with you. The peninsular India does not have any well-defined cold weather season. And you know the reason? Yes, the oceans, they act as a moderating influence on the weather and the climate of this region. There is no seasonal change, hardly any seasonal change in the distribution pattern of the temperature in the coastal areas, just because of the sea and proximity to the equator, because they are near the equator. The mean maximum temperature for January at Thiruvananthapuram is as high as 31 degrees Celsius. This I am talking about January. And June, it is 29.5 degrees Celsius. So you see, there is hardly any difference. The temperature at the hills of Western Ghats remains comparatively low, and the reason again is the altitude. By the end of December, the sun shines vertically over the Tropic of Capricorn in the southern hemisphere. So that means there will have low pressure and our country will have high pressure. The weather in this season is characterized by feeble high pressure conditions, especially over the northern plains. In South India, the air pressure is slightly lower. As a result, now the winds start blowing from the northwestern high pressure zone to the low pressure air zone over the Indian Ocean. Now, this is the season where we experience very light rainfall, that too in the limited regions. The weather is pleasant during winters. These pleasant weather conditions get disturbed by the western disturbances. Western disturbances are the cyclonic depressions which originate from the Mediterranean Sea, and they fly eastward, crossing West Asia, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan before reaching the northwestern part of Asia. On their way, they gain moisture from the Caspian Sea and the Persian Gulf. These western disturbances, they enter Indian subcontinent from the west and the northwest during the winter months, and they are originating from the Mediterranean Sea, and they are brought by the westerly jet streams. An increase in the night temperature during winter season is usually taken as an indicator for the advance of the western disturbances. Now, what is the western disturbances bringing to us? Rainfall in Punjab, Haryana, little parts of Uttar Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, and snowfall in the higher altitude of Himalayas. So these are weak temperate cyclones from the Mediterranean Sea which are named as western disturbances. They are highly beneficial for the Rabi crops. Remember, we have 3 agricultural seasons in India: Rabi is the winter season. The precipitation is in the form of snowfall in the lower Himalayas. It is this snow that sustains the flow of water in the Himalayan rivers during the summer month. So, Himalayas are the water divide also. While talking about less rain during winter season, we are saying that winter monsoons do not cause rainfall as they move from land to the sea. Hence, they are dry. It is because they have very less humidity. Secondly, due to anticyclonic circulation on land, the possibility of rainfall decreases. So, most part of India do not get rainfall during winters. And this precipitation keeps on decreasing from west to east in the plains and from north to south in the mountains. The average winter rainfall in Delhi is around 53 millimeters. In Punjab, in Bihar, it remains around 25 millimeters or 18 millimeters respectively. Central parts of India and northern parts of southern peninsula do get winter rainfall occasionally. Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, in the northeastern parts of India also receive rainfall around 25 millimeters to 55 millimeters. During October and November, these northeast monsoons, when they cross the Bay of Bengal, they pick up moisture from them and they give torrential rainfall over the coastal regions of Tamil Nadu, that is the Coromandel coast, the southern parts of Andhra Pradesh and southeast Karnataka along with southeast Kerala. Remember, when we are talking about winter rainfall, it is happening in the northern and the northwestern part of India and over the Coromandel coast. So, this was the weather condition during the winter season. Children, we have discussed winter season emphasizing the surface winds, the upper air pressure, the western disturbances, isn't it? Now we'll talk about the summer season, the weather conditions experienced during the summer season. First of all, we'll talk about the surface pressure and the winds. As the summer sets in, the sun shifts northwards. The wind circulation over the subcontinent undergoes a complete reversal at the lower and the upper levels. Lower level means near the earth, near the surface of the earth, and upper level means in the lower troposphere. By the middle of July, the low pressure belt near the surface, which is also known as ITCZ, remember, which is moving, it is roughly parallel to the Himalayas between 20 degrees north and 25 degrees north. When I say 20 degrees north and 25 degrees north, children, remember our location is between 8 degrees 4 minutes north to 37 degrees 6 minutes north, and this is approximately in the center of India, and the Tropic of Cancer is 23.5 degrees north. So, the location of ITCZ is between 20 degrees north and 25 degrees north. By this time, the westerly jet streams, it withdraws from India. There is a link between this ITCZ and the movement of the westerly jet stream, isn't it? So, the ITCZ is a low pressure zone located at the equator where the trade winds converge. So, it is a zone where the air ascends, moves above. In July, the ITCZ is located around 20 to 25 degrees north latitude. Sometimes it is called monsoon trough. This monsoon trough encourages the development of thermal low over north and northwestern parts of India, which will become a very low pressure area, hence attracting the reversal of trade winds. So, between this time, due to the Coriolis force, it becomes the southwest monsoons, the reversal of trade winds. So, this ITCZ has an interrelationship with the movement of the westerly jet stream. So, it being a pressure zone, a very low pressure zone, attracts inflow of winds, movement from high pressure to low pressure. The maritime tropical air mass from the southern hemisphere crossing the equator rushes to this low pressure area in a southwesterly direction. So, when it is coming in a southwesterly direction, it is known as southwest monsoons, and now it is coming from the water, that is sea, towards the land. This is bringing moist air in India and rainfall also known as southwest monsoons. So, the pattern of pressure and wind is formed only at the level of troposphere. Now, the easterly jet streams steers tropical depressions into India. These depressions play a very significant role in the distribution of monsoonal rainfall over the Indian subcontinent. And the tracks of these depressions are the areas of highest rainfall in India. The frequency at which these depressions visit India, their direction, intensity, all go a long way in determining the pattern of rainfall during the summer monsoons, that is the southwest monsoons. Now we talk about the hot weather season, the temperature. There's nothing new. All of you know the temperatures are really high during the summer months. With the apparent northward movement of the sun towards the Tropic of Cancer in March, the temperature starts rising in northern India. April, May, June are the hottest months in India in the northern parts. In most part of India, the temperature recorded are between 30 to 32 degrees Celsius. In March, the highest day temperature is about 38 degrees Celsius over the Deccan Plateau. While in April, it is between 38 degrees to 43 degrees in Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh. In May, this heat wave, this heat belt moves further north, and the northwestern part of India, the temperature above 45 degrees, around 48 degrees Celsius is very common. Whereas the hot weather season in South India is mild, not so intense as found in North India. The situation of South India with moderating influence of the oceans keeps the temperature lower than the northern India. So the temperatures remain around 26 degrees Celsius to 32 degrees Celsius. Even the hills of Western Ghats, they remain below 25 degrees Celsius just due to the high altitude. Now let us talk about the pressure and the winds. The summer months are a period of excessive heat and falling air pressure. So falling air pressure gives the development of low pressure. Because of the heating of the subcontinent, the ITCZ moves northward, occupying a position between 25 degrees north latitude during July. Roughly, an elongated low pressure monsoon trough extends over the Thar Desert in the northwest to Patna to Chota Nagpur Plateau in the eastern parts also. This is the season where we experience hot, scorching, dry winds. What is the name? Correct. They are also known as Lu. So in the heart of the ITCZ in the northwest, these dry, hot winds, which are known as Lu, they blow in the afternoon and very often they continue well up till midnight. Dust storms in the evening are very common during May in Punjab, Haryana, eastern Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh. These temporary storms bring a welcome respite from the oppressive heat, since they bring with them light rainfall and a pleasant cool breeze. There are various other local storms also which are experienced in different parts of the Indian subcontinent. Occasionally, the moisture-laden winds are attracted towards the periphery of the trough. Which trough? The low pressure trough. A sudden contact between the dry and the moist air mass gives rise to local storms of great intensity. These local storms are associated with violent winds, torrential rains and even hailstorms. You must have experienced hailstorms during the evenings in the northern parts of India. Now let's talk about certain interesting famous local storms. Mango showers. Mango, the favorite fruit during the summer season. Now towards the end of summer, pre-monsoon showers start entering India. They are experienced in Kerala and coastal regions of Karnataka. Locally, they are known as mango showers because they help in early ripening of mangoes. Then we have nor'westers. They are dreaded evening thunderstorms in Bengal and Assam. They are so notorious in nature that In local nomenclature, we call them Kal Baisakhi, a calamity in the month of Baisakh. So they are nor'westers, thunderstorms. These showers are very useful for tea, jute and rice cultivation. In Assam, these storms are known as Bardoli Chihra. The last are the blossom showers that we are discussing. These blossom showers are the showers which help in blossoming of the coffee flowers, especially in Kerala and the nearby areas. Aren't these terms very interesting? So children, if we conclude this session, let's try to recall what all we have done. We have compared the winter season and summer season, emphasizing the movement of the surface winds, the moving out of the westerly jet stream, the moving in of the easterly jet stream. We have discussed the western disturbances, the cyclonic depressions which originate from the Mediterranean Sea, and we have discussed very interesting torrential rainstorms, pre-monsoon showers like mango showers, nor'westers, Kal Baisakhi and blossom showers. Go through the NCERT book to get more information about all this clearly, and we'll move on to the next two seasons of India in the next session, and we'll be discussing about the advancing monsoon and the retreating monsoon season in the next lecture. Thank you.